Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Conversation in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And I want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my good friends at Pocket Jack Comics, and they are coming to a local comic shop near you. And you can right now check out copies of the sexy comics they produce, which is Guinevere and the Divinity Factor and Palace of the Golden Princess at PocketJackComics.com. And if you sign up for my friend Preston's email list, you can get free preview copies of the PDFs, so you can actually try it. And those books will be available in March in your local comic shop. So definitely order them in previews and go bug your local comic shop so you could read them. They're great books. I personally love Palace of the Golden Princess. It's a fun D&D book, guys. But I digress because I have with me comic creator, writer, Joshua. And he knows I'm going to get his name wrong. He knows. I purposely didn't even ask him for this because I want to see if I remember it. Pantalleresco? I want to say, or I know I got it wrong. I know.
It's a mental Pantalleresco. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joshua Pantalleresco. I'm a writer, producer, podcaster, and apparently an illustrator too. I do it all big and small. Anyway, there you go. I don't know. There you go. That's my intro.
So obviously, I want to talk about a bunch of stuff that you've been doing. I want to talk about your podcast class heavily because I think that's interesting. But we were talking about something off air that I just want to continue here. We're on opposing sides of the Super Bowl. I am rooting for the Chiefs. He's rooting for the 49ers. And it's very interesting. And so it's going to be a good Super Bowl. It's going to be a good Super Bowl.
So I'm just going to say this. I'm going to give a shout out to Steph Cannon. Credit to her picking the 49ers. Me and her were talking while the game was going on. Right. And it was actually a lot of respect. I look at it like this. If Detroit loses to the Super Bowl team, the Super Bowl champions, that's as far as shameful. And besides, we beat Kansas City. So if we can do it, San Francisco should be able to do it as well. So that's how I look at it. But in all seriousness, like, credit to Kansas City. I did not think they make Baltimore look the way they did. Like, I was stunned by that. Baltimore, run the ball. Just run the ball.
So I'll one up you. I was shocked about Buffalo.
I wasn't. That one I wasn't. Baltimore, but okay, so I truly believe this, like with anything, it's about not beating yourself. And the one thing I will give the Chiefs, and this is the one thing I have to give them head and shoulders props for, they know how to win and they know how to keep their composure. They know how to do it. And so they're playing a lot of teams, and where they're beating these teams, I think from a talent perspective, Buffalo was more talented than them. Baltimore certainly was more talented than them. But, okay, credit first off, they have the greatest quarterback of the current generation, which is Pat Mahomes. Got to give it to him. He's the best. But more than that, I've literally watched teams unravel. I watched Josh Allen having a chance to win the game, choke it away. And I say choke because he had 3 opportunities and he didn't do it. I got to look at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Baltimore had the team, man. I thought this was Baltimore's year. I thought they had the defense, they had the offense, they had no holes in their game. And I thought Lamar was at least good enough to go to wash out the advantage Mahomes had. But I don't know what happened to Baltimore. Baltimore in particular, that one, I will credit the Chiefs for playing their game plan really well, and that's a testament to them. But Baltimore was stupid.
This is what I don't get, right? And I was speaking to my dad about this. And Lamar Jackson has won all these awards, but this means nothing if you don't win a Super Bowl and you have all these accolades and you've accomplished so much. I mean, you got to win the big one in order to be up there. And that's what I don't understand, because I thought that I was prepared to lose my money on Baltimore, and I would have been happy about that. I bet if the 49ers lost, which was looking like that too, but that's a different discussion. But I was like, okay, cool. I'll lose $5 here. I'll lose $6 there. No worries. Those teams deserve to be there, right? But that Baltimore thing, I'm like, I get that 7-7, but then, like, how do you fumble the ball in the end zone. Say Flowers, how do you how do you fuck up so close?
Because it's a mental game. Like this is the thing. You have to believe you can beat a team. I'm a Lions fan. I can actually say that with pride this year. I can say that with pride.
Stay on focus. Stay on focus.
Oh, no. But this is important because this is the difference. This is the mindset difference between both teams. Yes, Detroit lost to San Francisco, but they were true to who they were. Right? It's one thing to be beaten. It's that, you know what? It happens. No one wins every single game. It's another thing to not be yourself and lose. And when I look at Buffalo, when I look at Baltimore, especially Baltimore this year, but Buffalo too, they are teams with the talent to beat Kansas City, but they don't have the headspace because they get in their own way. When Lamar looks at the replay this year, when the Baltimore Ravens look at the tape of what happened in that game, they're going to look at the fact is the two biggest things questions are, why didn't you run more? Because Kansas City's run defense is not the best, right? It's okay, but it's not the best. You should have crushed them there. You didn't even try to crush them there. You were throwing. I saw so many first and longs in the Baltimore game. I was like, what are you doing? Right? You're playing into Kansas City's hands. But again, Chiefs played a good game. I'm taking nothing away from the Chiefs. But they were composed. They played. They were who they are this year, which is a good defensive team with a great quarterback. They got the lead and they hung on to it. When I look at Buffalo was the hottest team going in. And then what happened, Josh? He spiked the ball. I mean, the one guy missed the catch, fair enough. But if you looked at that game, and then the wide right is so perfectly Buffalo. I cannot even put into words how poetic.
Before you continue, I do want to ask you a question. Do you want to shoot a movie?
Yes.
you got the joke, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's just, but that's what it is, right? You look at Buffalo, but you couldn't have asked for a better ending to that game. And it's very so typically Buffalo. I would rather, and this is the lesson, lose as who you are instead of try to win by who you are not. And that's the lesson Buffalo and Baltimore need to have a little hard look in the mirror about this year. And again, the difference is if I'm going to lose, I don't want to lose. But if I'm going to lose, I would rather lose like how the Lions lost versus how those two teams lost.
I actually really enjoy the Lions losing to some degree because they didn't hear me out. I thought that offside kick was a really good offside kick. And I'm not saying, offside kicks are like 99% of the time they fail. But I thought it was a great offside, or is it offside kick or onside kick?
Onside kick, yes.
Onside kick. So I sometimes get it confused. But I thought it was a great kick where it didn't go far enough because it was touched, I think, 2 yards short. But it didn't really matter. But I thought it had some bounce to it, and there was a potential that a little bit, it was a long shot, but I thought it was great. I thought they fought to the end, unlike, the Cowboys.
Ironically, I actually thought the onside kick was their biggest mistake. That was everything else. And hear me out on this. Because of how low percentage an onside kick is, they would have been better off taking the field goal on the first down, right? Not use their timeout and then try to, because they had 3 timeouts with a minute left. They could have used the clock to try to stop San Francisco. The loss would have been a touchdown, but honestly, like the onside kick being such a low percentage thing, if Dan Campbell made, honestly, one mistake, and a lot of people are killing him right now for some of the plays he made, but honest to God, he's true to who he was. He was aggressive. He went for it. It didn't happen. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Again, I would rather that than not be who you are. That's to the Lions' credit. The only mistake I thought they made was the onside kick. Like, that was the only kind of thing I went, okay, I maybe wouldn't have done that. But honestly, I can't complain about it. They fought their ass off. I cannot fault a team for going all in and doing their best. That's all you can ask.
Yeah, see, I think that there are opportunities that they should have taken a field goal, and I think maybe they got a little too aggressive.
But they didn't trust their kicker. That's the thing, right?
Fair enough. I mean, look, what was it? Tyler Bass missed the field goal as well. Didn't the guy on the lines also miss a field goal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, is the guy on the lines a rookie also, or is it just Tyler Bass? Because Tyler Bass is in his rookie year, I think.
It might be a rookie. Like, they just weren't like you could tell they didn't trust their kicker. Like, because again, like, just who the Lions are and how they always they went for it on fourth down more than any other team. They're an aggressive team. They're a physical team. They're a dominating team. They're used to winning those battles. And this is a credit to San Francisco. San Francisco's the one team in the NFC that goes, I don't think so, and can actually stop them, right? But that's the thing. That's why this matchup, like, I knew this game was going to be a good one. I did not think the Lions would roll over, and they didn't. They were true to who they were, and that's, again, at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for. Right? That's all you can ask for.
You're a lot more of an adult than I was on Twitter on this topic. I was like, what did they do here? Like, why would they do that? Like,
because, again, you got to look at what they did all season. You like, here's the thing. I don't look at it like in the moment. You might think this is crazy until you look at their whole season. They did this all the time. They went for it. They fake punts. Like, they pulled tricks out of their ass the whole year. This is who they are. They don't, that's why they're so fun to watch, because they are fearless. And like, sure. And honestly, again, what would you rather have? I would rather have sometimes too aggressive for their own good than, say, what I saw with Dallas with Green Bay, what I saw with Buffalo with Kansas City, what I saw with Baltimore, run the ball. Just run the freaking ball.
You could curse. You could curse on my show. You know that, right?
It was just like, fuck, man. I mean, just go, like, be yourself. Like, here, whatever worked for you to get to this point, you don't change it. And that's
so let me ask this question then. Do you think we're going to see the rematch between the 49ers and the Lions in the next 3-4 years?
I could see it next year. I think if you look at the NFC, Green Bay is a great team. I honestly, like, legitimately, I can see Green Bay being a force next year. Like, legit, they're going to be a great team, right? And if anything can stop that rematch from happening right away, it's Green Bay. Besides that, Detroit and San Francisco are the two most physical teams in the NFC. They will beat you up. And the scary thing about Detroit is they're young. This was a rookie. This is still like a first and second year team. Can you imagine them as another year? Like, they're going to be.
I mean, their oldest player is their quarterback, right? What is he in his fourth year? Which is just relatively young, right?
Well, yeah. So that's my point. You got this young team that went against these all-stars and lost by a field goal. Next year, it could happen again. And I'm not so sure San Fran beats them next time. Right? I'm not so sure about that. That feels like that. Like, I'm excited for it. I think if you ask a 49ers fan, honestly, maybe like, I don't know which way that goes next year. And that's an honest, they're exciting and they're fun. And barring catastrophic injuries, And I will give Green Bay some credit. They're going to be a better team next year. Their record's going to be what Detroit's was this year. I think it's going to be interesting to see that the Lions or the Packers are going to be the wild card team, and they're going to smash whoever's in fourth because they're just going to beat the crap out of them. But I like no one's going to want to be fourth place next year, because if you got the Lions or the Packers knocking on your door, that's not fun. So I say it like
it'd be a crazy match if it was the Lions and the Packers wild card weekend, because that's the rivalry, right?
I think that'd be divisional. I think that would be a divisional round playoff matchup. I would be sad because somebody would have to lose. Right? I would be sad.
It wouldn't be good for ratings either, right?
Oh, I think it would. I mean, it's an old rivalry, right? And again,
I mean, if they put that during wild card weekend versus a divisional, so a divisional game would be way better for ratings.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think the way seeding would work, like I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, it's either going to be an NFC East team or an NFC South team that's gonna be the fourth seed. I'm sorry, if it's Detroit or Green Bay in the fifth spot, they're just gonna smash those guys. I'm sorry, that's how I see it. The Rams are going to be good next year too. I cannot overlook the Rams. So these are the four. Those are the four. So San Francisco's still going to be good, regardless of whether they win or lose this year. They're going to be a good team. Detroit's going to be good. Green Bay is going to be good. The Rams are going to be good, and Dallas will, at least in the regular season, do okay, I think. So.
And the question is that where the Eagles are going to be at, right? Because
yeah,
I know what happened to the Eagles. I mean, I put money on Tampa Bay. People were like, why are you putting money on Tampa Bay? And I'm like, because the Eagles are a disaster and they've imploded.
Yeah, they did. They imploded. I knew they imploded when they lost to the Giants. I was like,
it cost me like $10 because I'm like, it's the New York Giants and it's the New York Giants. And I'm a Giants fan. I'm like, even I know the Giants are bad. Like,
yes.
And I was like, how did this happen? Like, this never happens. Like,
no, but that's it, right? Like, you look at it and it's like, holy crap, right? But when I watched it, like, it wasn't the fact that they lost to the Giants, it's how they played. And I just knew, it's like, okay, they're going to get in. They're going to get in. But I'm not betting first things first, had a tier that week. It was dead team walk and it was Philly. It's like, yeah, I'm not betting for them. Not even remotely going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole, because I knew
that game was great. That game bought me like a comic book for $50. That game was
yeah, not surprised. I knew Tampa was going to destroy them.
Let me explain to you when I bought the book too. See, this gets funny. Right when they got the safety, I bought the book.
Yep. It was over. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I didn't watch that game because I didn't need to. I knew how that was going to go. Right?
No, see, it was nice because I think that was Martin Luther King weekend. So I had that Monday off, I think. So it was like a bunch of football, and it was great because I said, cool, I don't have anything to do. I don't feel like watching anything like on Netflix. I'll watch this game and I'll have a good time. I made some popcorn, I opened up a beer, and I had a great time.
You got to watch Philadelphia get smashed for 4 quarters, right? Pretty much. It was, I think it was a game the first quarter, but I think after that it was just all Tampa. It was just like, yeah, that's about how I figured it would go.
The game didn't start getting good until 5 minutes into the third quarter. And then after that, the game was over. And it was great. It was great. I'm like, this could go either way, but this is a really boring game. And then that safety happened. And then the whole game was, we're done with Philly. Bye-bye.
I looked at it like this. I was like, Tampa's going to win. I'm not sure what the score is going to be, but Tampa's going to win. Philadelphia at some point is going to lay an egg. I picked it in my pool. I just knew like that one, they're going bye-bye. I just knew it. It's like, bye-bye. And it's like, I'm not betting Philly against anybody. That was the only round I was scared for Detroit, because Detroit was playing the Rams and the Rams were good, right? I wasn't worried about Tampa Bay.
I really enjoyed Detroit and the Rams because that was the trade between Matthew Stafford and
Yeah.
Jared Goff, and I thought that was really cool. That game where it was good for both teams, it was good for both quarterbacks, um, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was an excellent game, and that was the best out of Wild Card Weekend.
No, it was the best game in the first round for sure. The second round, Buffalo, Kansas City was the best game on the second round. And like I said, end of the game, Buffalo, you could have beaten them. You could have.
I enjoyed Texas versus the Browns. I thought that was an upset.
I wasn't surprised. I did take Houston in that. No, I wasn't surprised. I thought
that was the problem.
No, because Dallas Green Bay was the one I did not expect. That one caught me.
One also was painful. Like I took another $10 loss in that game.
I did see a world in which the Cowboys lost to Green Bay. I did see that world. I did not see Green Bay stomping them the way they did. I was like, damn.
What is it? The fourth quarter, and Jordan Love is on the bench, pretty much having a beer.
Yeah, game's over. You're good, Jordan. And again, much respect to Green Bay. I was genuinely impressed at how they took it to San Fran like Detroit did. Like they took it to them, and I was like, hey, I can like again, if you're gonna lose, be yourself, be the best version of you. And that's kind of how
there's a saying, right, where so the way I felt about Green Bay versus the 49ers is one team had to win, one team had to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that was. That was not Baltimore and the Chiefs. It was not the Ravens and the Chiefs, where it wasn't one team lost and one team had to win. So it wasn't that, right? So like that's how I felt to some degree about Texans versus the Browns. Is one team had to win, one team had to lose. Did the Browns play great? No, but even still, I felt that somebody's got to win here. But that's how the Lions and the 49ers were. Is one team had to win, one team had to lose.
Yeah, that was pretty much that was it. It's just like, and hey, credit to the Lions. They got to the NFC Championship game, and hey, they got there before Dallas did. I feel very happy. Right.
So obviously I have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I think you have the 49ers.
I do have the 49ers. I partly out of respect, like I said, I said this off the air, say on the air, Steph Cannon, but out of respect a little bit because they did beat us. So I gotta give it to her. But I think this is for me, this is the way, like no matter which way the game goes, it's gonna come down to this. The team that can get the 10-point, I think it's a 10-point lead, will win this game. Either way. I don't think either team gets really blown out. But what I do think is Kansas City has a hard time scoring over 20 points. And the 49ers have a hard time coming from behind. Say what you will about Detroit and Green Bay. They had to work their asses off for it. I don't think they can do that to Kansas City. I will give the Chiefs plenty of credit for. But where I think the 49ers have a good shot is they are a great running team. And unlike a certain Raven team, I don't think they're going to go away from the run. Right? So if they can open the Chiefs up with the run game, I think they have a good shot. And I think it's possible. I don't think that's an unrealistic thing to say about the 49ers. But again, Chiefs do have Patrick Mahomes. I'll give them that. But I think if it's a running game, it depends on who sets the tone. But I think San Francisco can set a good running game and be very physical with the Chiefs and beat them that way.
I take a very, very, very basic approach where I don't know if Brock Purdy knows how to win. And I say this openly where I don't think he's not proven that he's not a winner. And obviously, the Detroit game, the Green Bay game, I think those were iron sharpening iron to some degree. Because this is how you learn what you're made of, right? Leading a team when you answer 27-0 back and then you take the lead, there's something to be said about that. And that's how a winner should act, right? But I also go to this point saying Patrick Mahomes has also been in that situation, and he's also done some crazy things, whether by luck or skill or calmness or having the right tools or Andy Reid as the coach, because that's also, I think, a factor where Andy Reid's been around a long time. So that's why I say, look, I just think the combination of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes being a little magical wizard here, there, and the guy knows how to win. And so I'm like, this is something that is definitely, I think, in play. At least for me, it is, because I can't discount that Patrick Mahomes has been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I can't discount the fact that he's pulled off some amazing wins. And I think that Tom Brady loss really shifted him and shaped him up and made him a better quarterback. Because
Absolutely.
I think, and so I'm not saying that Brock Purdy can't upset Patrick Mahomes. But I think that that's something that I look at and I'm like, you know what? And also I think Kansas City's pissed off that they had to be on the road. And so I think there's a little bit of a chip. And I think they want to say, hey, and I have some Taylor Swift comics that if the Chiefs win, they'll go up in value. So I'm a little biased. little biased, guys.
As I say that, I'll show you right. I've been writing to this one lately. I've secretly become a Swiftie, not because of football, but because I ended up realizing I was listening to her before I knew I was actually listening to her. And I actually started, I got during the pandemic a couple of her albums on the cheap. And I started really listening to them. And I'm like, wow, she's really good. And next thing you know, I own all of them now. And somehow I've become it's a weird.
Great. She is fantastic, where she's an unbelievable performer. And I should have went to seeing her at MetLife Stadium. And I probably will regret that for a long time, because not saying I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I like her music. I have some of her music, but like, I'm not like an ultra Swiftie, but it would have been an unbelievable show. And it is.
My approach to her is her music's authentic. Like, yes, it's got some earworms and it's poppy, but there's something in her in the work, and you can hear it. And that's why it works. It's not this. I truly believe this. It's not. We all tell the same stories. What makes them special is how we tell them. And she does a really good job with, and I say this with all the respect in the world, she does a really good job of being true to herself. And you have that, when you have that, like when you know what that voice actually is, and you can channel it on a regular basis, and again, that's a credit to her. She's worked hard on that.
So I don't know if you know the story about her on FTX.
Mm-mm.
So I liked her, but I liked her even more after I found out about this story. Is FTX wanted to sponsor her tour. And I don't know if it was her manager, somebody who was advising her, but she asked Sam Bankman-Fried, hey, where's all this money coming from? What are you doing with this money? It seems a little fishy. And she turned them down as a sponsor for her tour. So whether it was her, something went off in her head, a light bulb went off, or somebody close to her said, hey, you should probably ask this question. And I don't think she wants to screw people, right? I don't get the sense that she's out, which she seems like an ethical individual. And that's when I was like, you got to give her mad respect, because they wanted to give her $100 million for her tour. And she basically said, I don't think this is good. I don't think this is ethical, and I don't want a part of it. And that's a lot of money to turn down.
Yeah, except for her. It's not a lot of money for her to turn down. She's a businesswoman. I mean, I think that's something that needs to be, and I say this with, again, all the respect in the world. She's looking at the fact that she is right now the #1 singer in the world. Like, there's not a close, like, you can talk about Bad Bunny, or you can talk about Ariana Grande, or you can talk about anybody else you'd like. Right now, this is her moment to shine. And she's taken full advantage of it. And I applaud her for it. Right? Because a year from now, who's to say she's as hot? I'm not saying she's not going to be successful, but there are there are peaks and valleys in any of this kind of stuff. And she's like, she's trying to capitalize as much. She's trying to capitalize to the best of her ability. And to the ethical part, it comes back to bite you. Like, how you treat people and how you look at people, that people remember that stuff. People really, really do. And when people see it, you get this, you learn very quickly that what you do comes back to you. I confronted somebody on Facebook the other day. They ended up blocking me because they were mentioning people by name.
Fine, I'll unblock you, Josh. You
Okay, fine.
could have asked privately. Oh
Okay.
no, continue.
Yeah. But my concern was, I'm not going to name the individual because, again, the individual doesn't matter in this sense, because they were attacking, they were saying things about particular people, and they were criticizing their behavior, and they were doing it in a way that the people they were dealing couldn't respond. And I was like, this is not good, because down the road, everything you're saying now about that person is going to come back to you. It's an ethical thing, right? You have to look at things. We're all in this game together, and how you treat people are going to remember how you treat them on the way up, and they're going to remember how you treat them on the way down. And how you treat them on the way up is going to impact how you're treated going down. So
see, it's interesting you bring this up, because I treat people, or I try to. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody can treat somebody wrong, right? It happens. We're human beings. You know, I'm sure I've treated people wrong, and I'm sure you have too. But you know, we're human beings. I've had bad days, but I've also been treated very nice by a lot of people, and I return the favor, or I try to. You know, so like I can't mention, but I just referred somebody business. I don't want to go into it. It was somebody on eBay who was looking for something who I don't know, but he wanted a book, and I knew who had the book. So I referred it, and I didn't take an affiliate. I didn't take a commission. And I said to the person, I said, hey, you did right by me. If you have this book, I have a client, and I connected them, and everybody's happy because everybody made money. Everybody got what they wanted. And the person, I don't know who this person is, but who knows where it's going to lead to. But my point is that I have been attacked by people. And I was just speaking to somebody, and they said something very similar to me. And I don't want to say who it was, but it's very reassuring to hear that privately and publicly. Because when you're getting attacked and you're on the other end of those negative criticisms, it's an insane position to be in.
I apparently, someone did something about me over the summer last year, and I didn't even pay attention. Like I had a buddy of mine on, he came on one of my shows, and we just talked, and he mentioned something off the air, and it was like, oh, I had no idea this was going on. I'm in a weird spot in the sense that I've learned, I've learned that I'm okay being hated. Like if someone decides that I'm not the guy for them, I'm not, like, I don't fit their ethics, morals code, that's fine. I don't worry about it anymore. What I'm going to focus on, and this goes back to our football analogy, it's a little bit about Taylor Swift. I'm going to be true to who I am. And I'm going to be let that be me. And if people decide that they like me, wonderful. I hope so. But if they don't, if they don't like what I stand for, they think I'm putting myself into, that's fine too. I'm not worried anymore about what I say it like this. I want people to think well of me, but I can't control it. So I don't really worry about it anymore. And if people want to attack me, I'm going to I look at it like this. It's free advertising. Thank you. And that's how I look at it.
So when I got attacked, and it was a 53-minute public attack, the only thing I cared about was, we have mutual friends, and how is that going to affect my business with those people? Because I had wholesale relationships with certain people. Turns out there was nothing affected. But I thought at the time that there might be a problem here. So let me short my protections, and those people I was doing business with, who I still do business with them. So nothing happened. But that's the only thought that went through my head is this going to create a business problem that's going to cost me money? And I don't think that's an illogical position. Maybe it is. I don't know. But
a little bit. Let me give you some thoughts here. I've pissed a lot of people off in my time. I have, just being myself. And what I've learned in the process is you can't make everybody happy. And let's say you did lose money. Let's hypothetically say you lost money. Then the thing you gotta ask yourself is this, okay? Was I the bad guy or was it the experience? And there's a difference between it. Like sometimes, like if you did something incredibly stupid, and we have all done some incredibly stupid things, but if you didn't all the time, but if you didn't handle it in a good way once these things came out, and if someone said, "I don't want to do business with you," that's fair. That's fine. That's fair. But if you're just being yourself, just being who you are, and it's just the experience, it didn't work out, whatever the case may be, and someone takes that opportunity to walk away from you, let them go. Because honestly, at some point you wouldn't be doing business with them anyway. And I would rather find the people that are more suited to me than someone who's not really in my corner.
So I don't want to go too much into the details of it because the thing that I did nothing about the issue and I ignored it, but it was in the back of my head saying, is this going to affect it? And what did I do? I didn't talk to the person I was doing business for like 30 days. I let everything cool down and I let another problem take center stage. And guess what? There's no consequences. And I have good relationships with everybody but the individual who I wasn't doing business with in the first place. So legitimately nothing happened. But my point is that I was concerned over X because I never dealt with anything like this before. To this level. And so, but going back but I agree where I'm going to run my show my way. And if somebody doesn't like my show, guess what? You don't have to watch it. It's that simple. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to talk to me. It's the same thing with people who don't want to be on my show anymore. I'm like, great. That's fine. You don't have to be on my show. I ask. And guess what? There's a lot of other people who want to be on my show who are like, yo, I would love to talk to you. You know, and I'm like, oh, I've been watching you wrestle for 20 years and you want to be on my show? Like, who the hell am I? Like, it's the weirdest thing. And I'm like, great. So and many people want to be here. And it's fantastic. So if you don't want to be here, that's cool.
You got to look at it. A lot of people also realize at this point, if you've been doing this for any length of time, not everybody's going to get along. And relationships change too, right? So the only thing you could really go by with people is your own experiences with them. That's it. Like what you realize if you do this long enough, you realize that a lot of what people think about people, unless it's their own experience, they don't really know these people, right? And that's the thing. Now, if someone I know and care about tells me, "Hey, I had this experience with this person," I do keep that in the back of my mind. And I have done that with people too, where people I've had very, very awkward experiences with, I have said, okay, hey, listen, watch out for this. Because again, it's about looking out for your friends. But again, there are people that are going to look at my particular flavor of ice cream and say, no, I'd rather have something else. And I'm good with that. And there are people and again, when you do this long enough, you realize we all have different experiences with each other. I know people I know people with you that have told, I know a couple, I'm not going to mention names, that they weren't a big fan of you. On the other hand, that was their experience with you. I'm not going to I'm not disagreeing with their experience. That's their experience, but I have my own experiences with you. Right. And that's just the way it goes. And you live and you learn. And that's all any of us can do. I've made mistakes with people too. I've made some big ones. And I've learned from them. It's all part of this process, man.
No. I agree. And this is what I say to you. I say, look, if you want to interview with me, if you have a problem with me, I don't know if you want to tell me, that's great, but I'll be here when you want an interview with me. And the door's open, and then it's up to them to walk through the door. That's it. And then if you don't want to walk through the door, that's fine. But if you have a problem and you don't tell me we have a problem, you know what it is? I can't know it and we can't fix it, which means you don't want to fix it, which is fine. Everybody has a right not to want to fix a problem or want to say, I'm done and I don't want to deal with you anymore. And that's cool too.
But yeah, no, that's life. That is how this goes. I'm just being honest, right? I myself. And again, as I've gotten older, I am more comfortable filtering people out, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a lot easier for me to do that now. And again, it's just simple. I'm just going to be honest with myself, and I'm going to be happy with me. And if you don't agree with me, cool. You don't have to. We can still have a beer.
See,
I don't care.
Let me ask you a question about that, because would you rather have a beer with somebody that you agree with or have a beer with somebody who you disagree with? Because I want to have a beer with somebody I disagree with.
Actually, honestly, I don't look at it quite that way. I've interviewed so many people that I enjoy everybody. Like, this is going to sound like a cop-out answer, but it's the truth. I enjoy everybody. I've enjoyed everybody I've had the pleasure of interviewing. Good, bad, and different. I've enjoyed the process. What I've learned about this whole thing is we've gotten a lot more sensitive to people that disagree with us in the last, I'd say 10 years, especially in the last 5 years. But I would look at it and I honestly would say it's like, we are 90% alike. All of us, I mean, when you break it down to our cores, 90% of the stuff, we are, I don't care who you are. It's that 10% that makes things interesting. And you can choose to let that 10% separate you from people, or you can use it as an opportunity to learn. I certainly don't have all the answers. As I get older, the older I get, the less I know. All that's different now is I do more of what I want, and I'm happier doing it that way.
Yeah, see, I want to have conversations with people that I disagree with because I want to understand their perspectives.
Sure.
I want them to understand mine, and I want to see if I can move them to me. Maybe they can move me to them. And I get bored because if I'm in an echo chamber, no offense, I don't need to hear what I think over and over again because I already know it. I want to hear somebody challenge me and make me think in a different way. And I've been intellectually challenged through a bunch of different groups, a bunch of different think tanks. I spent a lot of time down in DC. I did study abroad twice. That's how much I loved it. And it really made me think about what I think and believe in and how things work and what I actually want. And so when I'm dealing with people who I disagree with, it either reaffirms my beliefs or it makes me say, you know what, maybe my beliefs need some re-looking at. And so for me, it's an evolution stance. And so that's why I want to have a beer with somebody I disagree with more so than somebody I agree with.
I can point at the other end of that spectrum too. It's nice and reassuring. Sometimes you feel like you're the crazy one in the world, and the world is saying you're wrong about everything. And then sometimes you'll have a beer with somebody who's thinking the exact same things you are, and something that's not like it. That's a nice feeling too. I think it depends on when you get that. I remember right in the pandemic when we started going completely batshit on the vax mandates up here. I thought it was going crazy. And then one of my shows, it was a drink and draw episode. It was what I needed. It was just what I needed. It doesn't mean she saw things the way I saw it, but some of the things she was saying was just what I was feeling at that moment in time. And it was comforting. I love being challenged too. I like seeing things differently. I like observing things. I like the fact that the world is bigger than me, and I love that there's a diversity of opinions out there. I don't need to be the end all be all. Lord knows there's a lot I don't get right. But the thing is, like, for me, I've done so many of these interviews now that I try to just take people as they present themselves. If I respect you, I will call you out on what I think you're doing, what I think needs to be. That's why I did what I did, and it got blocked by this one individual because it's like, dude, I don't think this is right. And apparently he didn't take it very well, and that's totally fine. But I at least confronted him with something I felt, and that if I care enough for you to do that, it's that's it, right? But by and large, look, there are people who see the world completely different than I do, and I love that exists. It would not be a healthy world if it was a giant echo chamber.
No. I mean, look, me and my friends agree politically. We're on polar sides, and we have long discussions, but we can still be friends.
Sure.
And we're mature enough. But then there's other people who disagree with me completely. We can't be friends, and I don't think it's me. In which that I don't, maybe it is, I don't know, but I don't think it's me. I'm like, look, I see your point, I respect your point, I disagree with your point, and that's that. But and then they're like, well, you think this, and I can't believe in you, and you think that, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to say to make you feel better. Did you want to pet my dog? Like, I have a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. She's adorable. Like, would that make you feel better? And like, but it is what it is. But I think it's really interesting because, I mean, you talk about what you needed during the pandemic. I started doing this stuff during the pandemic. And so I didn't feel comfortable with all the craziness going on in the world, being in DC, being out of work, to necessarily venture out and be like, I'm going to go explore DC with this crazy virus that we know nothing about out there. So I'm going to go out, once a week, go grocery shopping, maybe go to Starbucks once a week, maybe stock in what I need. And I spent a lot of time in my apartment. But when I started doing interviews, I was socializing. And it wasn't political. We didn't speak about it. I just wanted to say, cool, who can I speak to in comics? And who can I help when people are getting fucked? And that's all I wanted to do. And it kept me sane. Because even just seeing another person on camera, even though we're not physically there, it's still reassuring. And so I think, very much on a mental health level, without a doubt, this show probably saved my life.
Doing the podcast definitely kept my social skills up. I think the biggest thing is I talk to myself a lot more now that the pandemic. I still have that like habit, but I'm also in a place where it's not as easy to socialize with people. It's been strange. I did San Diego Comic-Con last year, and even ignoring the con, I was able to interact and talk with more people in San Diego in a week than I've been up in Calgary for a year. And that's ignoring the con. I'm not even including the con in that. That's just, I think that's just something that's, I think the world kind of went like, there's a good chunk of the world that's kind of gotten into that we don't talk to anybody unless we have to kind of thing. And it shows in the interactions I would have been able to get in 2019, I can no longer get. And that's because the pandemic kind of altered everybody's trajectory a little bit. And I understand that to some degree. What I've learned with people is it really bummed me out the first year or so I was here, because there was a lot of people I want to see. There's still a lot of people I haven't seen. And when I figure out how to get out of here, which I hopefully will be sooner than later, that's going to be the sad thing about my time here, because I would have loved to have coffee with more people, to catch up, tell them I love them. Like, honestly, like in person, because if there's one thing I hope people got from the whole pandemic, is we're not here forever. And we don't have the luxury of time to wait like for the right time to see people. Sometimes all we got's right now. And that's something like I realized during the whole pandemic. It's one of the reasons I came back here first, was because it's like, let's see some of these people that really help make me who I am and who I love. But it's not there, like not like it was anyway. And again, I'm not saying I'm completely like 100% like innocent on this either, but I definitely have tried reaching out to a lot of people, and it's really, really interesting now to find that as I'm getting ready to leave, I have a different mindset now. Like I wish everybody well. I just would rather I would rather be in a place filled with strangers than around people that are familiar that treat me strangely. And that's basically that's what I've learned coming back here. So now I'm gonna go and run to a bunch of strangers and try to make new connections because life's short.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to say because I'm very much the opposite. Where I've known my friends since the third grade. I've added a few new people into my circle, but I am a very I like to build people that I trust around, and not even for business, just for
Mhm.
who I feel comfortable around. And then I like to add people in very slowly, but it's a slow vetting process for me. Um, and it's definitely something that I am hesitant on. And I was that way before the pandemic. I think the pandemic made me more of that. But I like interviewing. I like I like having people on. So like I'm a weird punch. And I'm fearless to ask somebody for an interview. I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen is a no. And, it's kind of interesting. And then, I went through a whole online dating thing and that was a disaster. Just because,
So I have a theory. I have a theory about you.
let me tell you the benefit of how the only good thing that came out of this is that I read Dune out of this whole thing where, she wanted me to read Dune. She read Ender's Game. I read Dune, and then we had a 3-hour discussion on it. And I enjoyed the first Dune book, but I didn't get much through the second. I was a little bitter after it didn't work. She was cute. It's just we were in different places. But anyway, but I thought it was a net positive nonetheless.
Sure.
But continue.
So, okay, I think part of the difference here is upbringing. I moved around a lot as a kid. So I didn't have, I had places where I stayed for a few years here and there, but I didn't grow up in one area for too long. And so what it forced me to do is it forced me to put myself out there with people all the time. And I think people that, and this is just my guess with you, is you were able to relatively grow up in the same area, give or take, right? And
I grew up legitly from first grade through 12th in the same school district. And nothing majorly changed. And obviously, you go to college, you start all new.
Sure.
When I went and moved down to DC for 4.5 years, again, you start all new. But those were, it's different when you're an adult and you do that versus when you're 7.
Yeah. So I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. So I look at it as an opportunity because I realize, again, I have a slightly different perspective because I realize how precious our time. The odds of us having, like, we only have so many conversations together. We only have so many time to be together. This is how life works. Life pushes us in so many different directions. And I get that too. Like no one owes you anything. But what I realized in this time, and then during this time, and at least now that I've gotten into middle age, is I have to accept the fact that A, like, again, the world's a little different, and B, like, the people that I knew are not the same people anymore. And that's not a good or a bad thing. It just is. In your case, I think the benefit of growing up in a space for a long period of time is you get to grow up with people, right? You get to grow up with people. You get to be familiar with a bunch of people. And so what happens there, I think, is you get accustomed to a certain amount of people. And then anybody new that comes in, you're like, I'm not so sure about this, because you've had to some degree the luxury, but also just the nature of where you live, of having a whole bunch of people you've grown up with. I have always traveled, right? I'm a wanderer, and I think and again, it's just something that's just by nature I have. So I'm eager to meet and embrace new people all the time because I think people are infinitely fascinating. And I'm willing to take those risks. Because of how you grew up, and I think there's a lot more benefits to how you grew up than what I got. But one of the things is But you're slower to trust because you have a bunch of people you're familiar with. So you had those changes happen to you at a much slower pace. So you're like, I'm not so sure I want to jump into this. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that that's just the nature. Like if I have kids, I'm not going to want them to move around like I did. Right. Right. I may have them travel, but I may not want them to move around like I did because I don't want, I would rather they grow up with a group of people they know and love and can form their bonds with and keep them. Now, the world might put them in a zillion different directions, but at least for their childhood, it's just like, okay, this is what you got, you know?
No. You're always insightful. I mean, you know, it's also adding components into the group. So me and my friends, there's three of us that are still we see each other once a month. And so we put in a lot of work to maintain the friendship. One of them is still where we grew up, which is about 50 miles away. And then the other two, they're twins. They're about 20 miles away from where I am. So we meet up somewhere that's close to all of us. And then obviously other components have been brought in, but the components, and I say my other friends from college, some of their friends from college have been brought into this group. It's obviously vetted and everybody kind of knows the tune and everybody fits in. And sometimes people don't. And it creates like awkwardness, and it's hard because we got a bunch of kids who are nerds who were watching Star Wars and Star Trek, not getting shoved in a locker. There's so many communal bonds, and a bunch of my friends from college have similar experiences. So it's like they get a nerd joke immediately, and like it's hard to explain where it feels comforting and safe,
Yes.
and that's what it is. And it's nice because the world's a crazy place, and even after COVID, it's just nice that I feel that, you know, as a man with a disability, if I'm stumbling, nobody's going to point it out and nobody's going to think anything less because it's safe. And it sounds weird, but it's just that like these people have known me forever. And so
It's,
I don't feel I have to put up guards and defenses.
yeah. And when you're my age, you don't have time for that shit. Like, what I mean by that is like, you just don't have like guards, defenses. I'm me. You're gonna love me. You're gonna hate. You're gonna love me. You're gonna not. I don't care. At this point in my life, I am who I am. I just see it like that more because, again, this is just a difference. I've never had the luxury to be comfortable in the way you're comfortable, right? And I don't. This isn't a knock. I mean, I think growing
Feel
up,
free to take a shot. I don't mind.
yeah, no, I don't. It's not a shot. I think a lot of people would give her that. It's nice to kind of have something that's at your own pace, or feels like at a pace you can handle, right? And again, I understand that to some degree, right? I don't like you bring other people into your life. It's complicated because where do they fit? What do you do? Do you want to have time for that kind of thing? I get all that, but but again, now that I've done all the things I've done, seen all the things I've seen, I realize that really it's the small things that matter. And taking the time to make those things happen is, that's one of my goals for the next couple of years, is to figure out what that looks like for me. And then once I have that figured out ish, as much as anybody figures it out, you know, then just, then maybe try to settle down somewhere, still travel. I don't think I'm ever going to not travel, but actually have a place that's I actually feel like is home. That's an honest, like, an honest thing about me is I know what I want. I know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. Whereas a lot of people don't necessarily know what they want, but they know where they're going, or they know who they are. They don't know who they are, but they know where they're going. I don't know where I'm going. And it's an interesting, it's been my mystery. That's been the mystery I've been trying to solve. So, if that makes sense.
If you need me to call Scooby Doo, I got you.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help. I couldn't help to make that joke. I'm sorry. No. I don't know. I mean, I know where I want to be. at least
Yeah.
in the vicinity, because I want to be close to my parents and I want to be close to my friends wherever I live. And I kind of figured out what I want to do as a job and as a profession and the sector I want to work in. I mean, it took 10 years to figure it out, but I don't know where that's leading me and where I'm going to be exactly and what precisely I'm going to do in the sector that I'm in, because the sector I'm in is vast. But I like it, and I don't really know about that. But what I figured out is that I have some components figured out, and it is reassuring to say, "Hey, I want to stay in Connecticut, which is where I'm located. I want to be close to my friends because I like my friends. Obviously, I want to meet somebody and I want to have a family. You know, those things are good, but I don't know the exact path. I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up. I don't know if I'm going to wind up being working in a college or whatever. But I am slowly figuring out what makes me happy. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a start, but again, it's exciting to some degree, but it's also I have luxuries where I kind of have certain things in plan that limit what can ultimately happen, but also do provide, I guess, a pace and a slow down position for me. And then it works, and I really, really enjoy that. And so it works for me because it makes me, I guess, function, for lack of a better word.
Nothing wrong with that, bud. Like that, like the only thing I tell people honestly is, are you happy with where you're at? Are you, just be honest with yourself? Are you happy? Is this what you want? Like what you're doing right now, is this what you want? If the answer is yes, there's nothing more to be said, really.
No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think for me, and I'll just answer the question, is that I'm not happy exactly where I'm at, but I'm happy the path I'm on and where I'm going, because I don't know, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. I don't know if that makes sense. So I know, like, the light is at the end of the tunnel, and
Mhm.
so for me, it's cool because I think maybe a year away, and I might be buying a house in a year, and that's been a goal. And so it's like I'm not there yet, but I'm taking the steps there, and it's exciting.
Mhm.
Now, maybe I'm going to be 15 miles away from my parents, and then they are going to be 15 miles away from some of my friends, and then I'm going to be a house owner, and like all of a sudden, it's kind of living the American dream. And
Sure.
so I think, I'm on the path to it, but nothing's perfect, but it's getting better. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's where you want to be. Like, look, we don't, like, there's always a journey to somewhere where we all are going on. It's, are you happy with the path you're taking? Like right this minute, I'll be honest, like the last couple months have been a struggle for me, right? Because I lost, like, right at the end of the year, all my contracts that I had last year that were going kind of went on pause, or one completely fell through. A big one fell through. It was the difference between me making a comfortable wage and me just being under living wage as an artist, right? I came really close to making a full living wage as an artist last year. And I would have been significantly over that if things had worked out, but it didn't. And I've been kind of trying to figure out what the next path for me, because I want to go on the road, and I want to kind of like, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but also I want to go out and meet everybody I've interviewed here. And in the process, whatever it is, wherever it is I'm supposed to be, whatever it's going to, where that happiness is for me, I'm like, try to find it. And that's where I want to go. And in spite of all the ups and downs of it, I'm very happy with the progress I've made, and that's all I can, like, again, is it what I want? No. Not is the final picture what I want? No, but am I on the path to where I want to go? Yes. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop anytime soon either.
no, it's interesting. I mean, I think that that's fantastic, and
Mhm.
I think I'm not a religious person, so whatever we call divine force, we call God. I don't want to diminish anybody's religion or their beliefs, but if I've heard it put the nicest way, and I'll put it the way I think it's put best, is that if God wants something, He will provide you a path. It's up to you to take the path, but He will provide you the option, and
Yeah.
or the divine force, or something will happen, or things will line up. It's and so my job and what I do, there was a bunch of things that kind of lined up, and maybe it was lucky, maybe it was fate, maybe it was meant to be. I don't know. Maybe I took steps and then somebody met me halfway. I don't know what we want to call it, but I do believe that people will meet you halfway, or things will meet you, or opportunities will come your way, and they will find you if you take certain steps. That'd be a good way to put it too. So, I mean, that's what I think, at least, because I've experienced it. I don't know if you've experienced it, but that's what I've experienced in my life.
There's been points like I remember when I was working at UPS back in the day, and I was wondering how I would make the ends meet, and I made ends meet. It was amazing to watch, and I have found that when I've wanted to accomplish something, like fixing my teeth, the top here, I had very busted teeth, and I remember the year, like there was a moment I was like, okay, I'm ready to actually go on the road to fix my teeth. It took 6 months, but I got there. I legitimately got there, and that was not something I ever expected. Now the next step is, okay, I think I'm ready to go on the road. I don't care what that looks like anymore. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go out there. I'm ready to see it. So now I got to figure out how to make that work. And I don't have all the answers right this minute on how I'm going to make that work. But I do know that it's going to work. And I do know that when I go out there, things will kind of fall into place. Maybe I get my ass kicked a little bit. Wouldn't be the first time, but maybe I get my ass kicked a little bit. But at the same point, I'm not afraid. And if you can eliminate your fear of the unknown, like if you can get over the fears of both failure and success, the unknown of what will change when I do this, if you can get rid of that fear, there's nothing you can't do. I honestly believe that.
I feel you on that. It took me 13 years to get over a fear. 13 years. And it's a pretty big one. And it was actually done last year. And my fear cup is filled up for at least another year. I think I did a pretty big pass on it. I was terrified to correct the surgery when I was 17. It took me 13 years to get over it. And you talk about finding the path and even fixing your teeth. So I decided to go on that path. And the day I go on that path, I'm also on the path to find a job and get hired. I get hired on the way to the surgeon, who says yes. And the only easiest decision I made that day was going to Dunkin' Donuts before I got any of this news. And I got a bacon wrap, like egg wrap, and I got my sweet tea with liquid sugar, and it was raspberry like shots in there, 4 of those. And it was best, easiest decision, because here I am, and they're offering me a job, offering me more than what I asked for. And then I'm like, great. I don't even have time to process this. And then my surgeon's like, yeah, we could do this like in a week if you want. And I'm like, what? And it's just one of those things where it's just like 15 roads where it's just like, here you go. And I'm like, great. And meanwhile, I had a $20,000 grant to go back to school to further my education on the table too, all within the same week. And I'm like, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Just like you guys couldn't do this for me like 6 months ago? Like, really?
No, because you weren't ready for it 6 months ago. You weren't. You were scared. So when I fixed the teeth, it wasn't so much that I was okay. So this might be different than what it was for you, because I get the feeling for you it was something you've dealt with your whole life. My teeth was something that happened as a result. I ended up working for somebody. I'm not going to mention them on air. It didn't work very well. It wasn't just that. There's a lot of things, but my teeth paid a huge price for that whole experience. I nearly died. I was grateful I survived. But I mean, over the years, my teeth got worse and worse and worse. And at first, I wasn't ready to fix it because I had just survived something that nearly killed me. And it put some things in perspective. It was kind of like a reminder that I survived something when I first went through it. But as the years went on, and it took about, I say 6-7 years, no, about 8 years, actually. It took about 8 years. When it took me, I had to get over, like, for me, it wasn't just losing the teeth and stuff, or having my teeth get slowly destroyed. It was the fact that, something really terrible happened to me and there was nothing I could do about it. And that's a humbling thing. Like, really humbling thing. I can't even like put it into words how it almost felt humiliating. But at the same time, it's a good life lesson too, because you're not in control of everything. And it's okay that I took a risk, and this came with part of the risk I took. And I had to accept that. I had to accept certain things I was angry about. I had to let some of those things go. But I also had to forgive myself, because part of me felt like I let it happen. And part of me did. Like, if I'm being honest with you, I could have dealt with my teeth sooner. I probably would have saved more of them if I had. But I wasn't ready to do it because
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's honest.
Because with me, I had a failed surgery on my both feet at the same time, and I had a horrible experience. The right one just didn't fuse, and
Okay.
it was doing okay, and then it was just becoming worse and worse and worse. And since I had such a bad experience, really bad reaction to morphine and the drugs, supposed to be in the hospital for 2 days, was there for 5, a lot of problems. It was just a disaster. So I have this negative response to this where logically I'm like, I can't go through this again. And so what it was is that it was getting worse and worse and worse, but I was just moving on with life. And I said, okay, we'll deal with this eventually. And then years go by, but it takes some time because obviously the recovery for the surgery was there. So you don't know it's a problem till 2 or 3 years in. Then you're like, okay, cool. We'll try some other non-invasive things because I don't want to go through a massive invasive problem again. And so now all of a sudden, fast forward, and then I said, okay, cool. I'm 30 now. If I don't deal with this now, I'm never going to deal with it. And so what shifted is that I said, I think I'm okay to deal with this. And I'm obviously in a position that I can deal with this now. And then also my company that I was working at, and I'm still there, was very understanding. So a lot of things were just in play because I finally said, okay, cool. This can work and this is okay. And I also trusted my surgeon. And so for me, what it was is that I had such a negative reaction that I said, I don't want to do this again. And it just took so long to get all that negativity out, and 12, 13 years. And I know it sounds weird, but it was that visceral for me. And maybe for somebody else, it would have been 3 years and they would have been like, we're doing it and we're going to get this fixed.
I think, okay, if you're going to be, let's be fully honest, you were a little scared too. Let's be real.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm terrified because there's a lot of stuff. Anytime you go under surgery, it's terrifying because anything could happen in surgery. And then secondly, what happens if this doesn't work and it gets worse?
Yeah.
And I know what my life and my foot, I can function, but what happens if I can't function? Then what happens? What if it's incurable? Like, there's all this stuff that goes on, and that's the issue. And I'm very honest about it. And it's that, and then it's also like, what does the recovery look like? Is the PT and the backside is going to be just as bad as it was when I was 17? And it wasn't, but I didn't know, and I can't know.
And also, what if it hadn't worked again? Like, it's a risk. And you had already been burned once. Like, I think that's the other thing about this. Like, you got burned the first time. You thought that your problems were going to go away the first time. They didn't. So you're like, well, what? I mean, there's a part of you that's like, what's the point of going back? Right. But there's another part of you that's like, I got to deal with this. But what do I do? Right. And that's again, it's terrifying. Right. It's a little terrifying because you have to look at things like you have to face your fears when you're trying to fix something, right? There's that subconscious thing that you broke it. Whether you did or didn't is irrelevant, right? There's a little bit at the back of your fear of, well, something might be wrong with me, right? Because it didn't work the first time. Why didn't it work the first time in your case? Or in my case, why did I let this happen? Right? And there's again, this is the mind fuck you do to yourself. And you have to kind of come to terms with it. Now, when you come to terms with it, it's great. It's wonderful and all that stuff. But that's a process. And you have to be aware of that. To some degree, you got to be aware of that process. And you have to be willing to come to terms with it. When I was ready to fix my teeth, the other thing too is I dealt with some of this when I went through my major crisis. Some of these emotions that were coming to the surface didn't come to the surface until I was ready to fix this stuff, because I had locked some of this stuff away. And I didn't realize how much until I went to go fix it. And then I had to kind of deal with some of these emotions all over again. Right?
Oh yeah, I dealt with that. I
Yeah.
it was. I have a funny story about my surgery. So this is the only thing I remember from my surgery is that there's two things I remember. I'm pissed off that I didn't bring my Raycons because I wanted to listen to Avril Lavigne on the way down. So that's one.
Okay.
So this is at 6 a.m. This is what I wanted to listen to.
Sure.
Oh my God! Just her. I think it was like her 2012 or 2013 album was fantastic. This is one that starts with rock and roll. Great album.
It's a decent one. It's a decent one. It's not my favorite one of hers, but it's a good one.
I really enjoy it. I enjoy her version of Bad Reputation. Oddly enough, is at the end of like Strong World in One Piece. Who knew, right? But anyway, just goes to show that that anime knows how to pick good songs. But anyhow, I digress. So that's the first thing. So I was upset already going into my surgery. And the second thing is that the anesthesiologist thing, I was a wreck. And all I remember is I'm playing with my phone and I'm going in and out of this really, really quickly. And then the best decision I made that entire day is I just handed my phone to my mom. And I'm like, I could really sell a bunch of stock right now, or I could probably send somebody a dick pic and they might not appreciate it. So why don't you take my phone? And so that's the last thought I was thinking before I go.
Okay.
So I could die on the operating table, and this is the last stuff I'm thinking. So I'm like, you know what, Mom? Why don't you just take my phone?
Fair enough. I can't fault them for that. I mean, yikes, but also can't fault you. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like it's when you're ready to heal, like when you're honestly ready to heal, the requirement isn't just the physical damage done to you. It's part of it. But the other part of it is that mental, you got to be ready to heal. And a lot of times, and that means you got to, in order to really truly heal, you have to be willing to let go of the things you were feeling. That means you got to process what you're feeling, which is scary in and of itself. But you got to go through that process first, and then you have to let it go. And I remember, so the night before my first dental surgery, I cried. I legitimately cried like a baby because I had to, like, it was all there. Everything I went through, everything I suffered is in my head. And it's just like, there's that. Why did I let this happen? Why? And then there's part of me that was just like, I had to look at myself at my angriest moment in my life, not the surgery, but when things really fell apart, and I had to forgive that guy. And I also had to understand that guy, because he was hurt, and he did some things that wasn't drugs, starvation, more than anything else. But he had to do some things, hard things to survive. And he could have left sooner than he did, and he probably should have. But he just wasn't ready to leave. And I had to let that guy go. And that was a very that's a very honest way of looking at it. Like, the people that damage you, it's an easy, I'm not going to say it's easy to hate them. What I'm going to say is it's easy to keep hating them at a certain point, because that means that the damage done in here, you don't have to look at it. But if you want to truly let go and be free in this life, you have to look inward. And that's something that me going through what I've been through in life, I've learned that. And, it's, again, so if anyone listens, like, again, I tend to do a lot of positive stuff on my Facebook pages and other things. It's not that I haven't seen the darkness of the world. I just I decided that I wouldn't let the darkness in my life define me. I wanted to move past it. And that was a decision I made a long time ago. I know, again, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I choose, I think, by and large, a happier world because I've seen what's out there, and I know I can do it. And that might sound really cheesy and corny, but that's where I'm at.
Hey, you're doing better than me because I struggle between positive and negative a lot, and it is a very complicated battle internally, without a doubt. And I'm well aware, and there are good things that come out of it, but there's definitely a lot that has to be worked through with me, and I because it's my healing isn't done, for lack of a better word, and also I deal with a lot of things, and I'm very honest about it, where I understand, but I made a bunch of positive changes for the better.
But we all handle it differently. I'm not saying, again, going back to something I said earlier, there's no wrong way of doing something, really. It's about being honest with what you're doing to yourself and to yourself in the process, right? You don't need to find my answer. It can be yours, and that's fine too. It's more about just being honest with who you are in this moment. If you can do that, you're not bad. You're not doing bad, right? You can look at a situation and swear at it. It's fine. I understand. I really do. Right? It's just you have to be honest with yourself, and that's something that I think a lot of us have to learn as we get older. And then when you get to my age, you get to a certain point, it's like, ah, fuck, it's who I am. I'm going to enjoy it, and hopefully people can enjoy it with me. But if they don't, that's fine too. I'm long past caring. So you like that. You like that.
I have become somewhat like that, but I'm not fully on board your train just yet. I will get there. I will get there. I promise you.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
5 more years. You'll get there.
I'm inching there very slowly, but I will join you on that train eventually.
I'll be a full supervillain by the time I'm 50. I've joked about this on a few podcasts. So I had this conclusion that Spawn has the most obnoxious costume in the world. Like, seriously, his cape. How does he not trip? That, right? Like, honestly, it is the longest, most coolest looking thing you'll ever see. But the truth of the matter is, right? Let's be real here. Let's be absolutely 100% real. He's that cape would trip. Like, the way I would fight Spawn is I would hockey fight him. I put the cape over his head and just start hitting him as hard as I could, right? Because I actually had this idea I was going to do this for Spawnuary or whatever the heck they called this, was a hockey beaten up Spawn in a dressing room. What happened with him? He wore that stupid cape on the ice, and the guy just took him down, right? And that would be, because that's the thing. But all of which to say in jest. But it occurred to me that if I turn 50 and I do this crazy path I'm on, I might become a full-fledged supervillain. I too would have a giant ass red cape. The difference is I'd hire somebody to carry it for me when I wasn't standing still.
Will they also bring a fan so that it could blow in the wind?
No. Doesn't need to. Just the cape itself is awesome. The wind will be a bonus, but I gotta be careful. Now that you bring that up, if it's too long, I might fly away. Like, that is entirely possible. I might fly away. and the thing is, Andrew can see it in his head, and he'd be like, he'd pay to see that. It's like, hey.
I would super chat for it for sure.
Yes, yeah. Make him blow away. No, but like that's the thing, right? I won't ever talk to myself in third person, but again, I've embraced who I am, and you come to a point in your life where you don't worry so much about what other people think of you. It's about you being in peace with who you are, and that's important because once you have that inner acceptance, you'll have that self-respect, and self-respect, to be perfectly frank, is the only respect that matters in this world. The rest of it's nice, but your own self-respect, you can't put a price tag on it. And it's one of the only two things you actually have.
I mean, I'll be honest. I like being respected for my opinion on certain topics in my company and job because you know it's nice when somebody delegates to you because you're the expert. It's a nice feeling.
Sure.
But I don't need an award. I really don't. I need a day off. That's what I need.
Yeah,
More
sure.
than anything.
I'm just being real. Like prestige is an odd thing. I've had awards. I've been nominated for awards. I've won an award. I might be going down a path that's more that feels more prestigious, but I have a very different point of view on prestige. I use prestige for a purpose, not to stroke my own ego. I'll be doing other things to stroke my own ego. Not the prestige is not what I'm going to worry about there. But I say that. Are you there?
Yeah, okay, I'm here.
Yeah. I hope. Yeah, I froze there for a second. It's like, oh, did I disappear? Did he disappear? Anyway, all of which to say is like, it's not as important as it's nice, but it's not as important as you think it is. Like, honestly, there's a lot of people whose opinions are deferred to that aren't happy with themselves. And you can see it sometimes. And I think they if you told them like what they would trade for, like if they had to choose between self-respect and the respect of others, self-respect would be higher in the long run.
I'm sorry. You don't work at my company, and Halloween is serious business in my company. Because if you win a Halloween award, everybody knows you had the best costume.
That's sexy. What was your costume?
I decided to skip this year because my coworker was a piñata, and I saw his costume. I'm like, I just went home. I'm like, I'm done.
Did you break the piñata?
I should have been a bat. That would have been really funny. That would have been really funny.
Why not? Like, why not, man?
I know what I'm doing next year, but oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be so good. I think I'm gonna be a stapler in Jello.
Interesting.
And then I'm gonna have my coworker be Dwight.
Sure. You know, Dwight would win, right? Dwight would win that contest. Just saying. I
know.
Yeah, Dwight would win. Like Dwight would legitimately win. So let's see here. We haven't actually talked about any comics at all. I just realized this is an entire conversation. The closest we got is Hockey Fight with Spawn.
Right? I know, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's partially my fault because I was really just not feeling great last night, and I was exhausted because my niece has come to visit me. She's staying for the week, and instead of being a responsible interviewer, I was playing with her instead. So normally I would have real questions, and I said, you know what? I've known Josh for a while. And Josh is really good at conversation, so we're just gonna wing it and see what happens. And I don't think I made a bad call. Maybe I did.
No. I mean, if anyone's still listening at this point, they had a good conversation about self-respect and dealing with your inner demons. We talked about that, and then we talked about piñatas and red capes and Dwight from The Office. So I mean, you got a little bit of everything in this conversation, really.
I mean, the first 20 minutes is all about football. So a Canadian.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but I should have asked you the serious question is, how did you, as a Canadian, get so involved in American football? That's like the question. Like,
The answer is ironically my side gig. I work for the Calgary Flames, which is an NHL hockey team, as a side gig right now. And so they are all like everybody that works in there on some level or not, whether they want, like, again, some more than others, but they're into sports. So what happens is I'm literally watching American football, baseball, hockey all year round when I'm there. So I'm the interesting thing about working at the arena is everybody goes there sooner or later. I've seen the mayor of my city in there. I've seen Brett the Hitman Hart. I actually walked by him one evening. He was grabbing a hot dog out of the lineup, just quietly, just minding his business. That's how I met Bret Hart. I met the coach of the Calgary Flames, or the former coach at that point of the Calgary Flames, at the end of the season last year. Nice guy, really nice guy when he's not on the air. So I mean, there are some really neat people in the building. But one of the things you learn is everybody's there is passionate about something, and so I got to watch football a lot during that my time there. So I got caught up with it, and it's just like now it's just, and between that and when I write, the other thing I do, I like sports talk shows, and the two I thoroughly enjoy right now are First Things First. It's funny, and I enjoy First Take with Stephen A. Smith when Shannon Sharp's on the show. So
Great Stephen A. Smith.
What?
The great Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, he's definitely, he's good at what he does. Like, he's an entertaining guy. I'll give him that.
I want to ask you something about him, and it might be slightly controversial, but I'm curious your take on him. Did you see his whole thing with Jason Whitlock?
I think he made him. I don't think he should have given Whitlock the time of day. Remember how I was talking about, now again, Whitlock's been talking about him on and on and on and on. And I could see, I can understand having enough. I can understand that. But on the flip side, Stephen A. Smith's in a very, very prominent position right now. Like he's right now at his apex, like what he's doing at ESPN right now. He's punching down to practically everybody. Right?
I don't know if you saw Jason Whitlock on Megyn Kelly. And the reason why I bring this up is that thing looked just, and I don't mean to sound like a dick when I say it, but it looked like a cowering kitten. Sure. It was clearly you have a juggernaut with Stephen A. Smith, and then Jason Whitlock's response was like, Stephen A. Smith is gonna overkill you and run you over in a monster truck. Like it's not a fight.
No, but that's not. It's not that it's a fight. It's like, okay, it's like, this isn't like when Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly did their thing a few years back. Machine Gun Kelly knew he was going to get killed. There's a certain bravado with what he did that I appreciated in the moment. Then Eminem fired back and just showed like there's levels to this, right? So, that part of it, I kind of understand. I think the big difference is Whitlock is he was on Fox and then he disappeared. And I mean, he's not the only guy that's disappeared from Fox, but he's probably the biggest name that disappeared there. And he's now somewhere, like, he's kind of in his own obscurity, right? He's not quite Marcellus Wiley, who's kind of in his own space on purpose. He feels like it's a little bit different. So he's attacking a guy. He's punching up the Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, I mean, any response he gives Jason Whitlock is he's punching down hard. And that's the thing. Like, he can stomp out anybody he wants to like a bug, but he looks oddly bad for that, because what you've done now is you've given Whitlock a little bit of credibility. You answered him, and you answered him publicly. it's one, like, it's, I don't name names when I bash people. And the reason I don't name names is because I don't want to back and forth necessarily on someone else's platform, number one. But number two, if I make it vague, right? If I make it vague, I'm not burying anybody. Whether I'm punching up or punching down, I'm not saying anything really, 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 really terrible. I'm just saying my opinion and I'm keeping it there, and it's not a fight. The moment a name comes up, it's a fight, right? And anything you dish out, you have to be willing to take. So I look at it like, for him to put his airtime, his valuable airtime in on him, I don't know if that was the wisest thing. He acknowledges it himself, by the way. Stephen A. Smith acknowledged this point when he mentioned that Sharp told him not to do this. It's like, I understand where they're coming from, but I'm going to do it anyway. And fair point to him.
I mean, I thought the first part of that episode where he addressed the Pat McAfee, the Aaron Rodgers thing, I said, look, this is ESPN business. We don't talk about ESPN business. That's closed door business, and we're not going to talk about that. And I thought if he then just continued talking about whatever he wanted to talk about and avoided Jason Whitlock, to me, that just clarifies the air and says, look, what Pat McAfee and ESPN and Aaron Rodgers all had a private meeting, that's private business, and it's going to remain that way. And he should have said that's what he should have done with Jason Whitlock to some degree. Is
he did? He didn't even have to mention Whitlock by name. Like, that's the thing. He didn't have to mention Whitlock by name. He again, he told it like he saw it. I'm not going to say he pulled any punches. You know, he was very honest about his opinion. I can respect that. Like, and again, there's a part of me that understands why. I get it. But I don't know when you hit a certain stratosphere, you're never gonna. There are people, like, writing wise, like, I could say terrible things about. Now, they would not, whether they're true or not, irrelevant. I would never get a punch down from these guys because they are so many levels above me, and they shouldn't punch down on me. I'm just a guy, right? Vice versa, right? Like, when you hit a certain point, and again, because you're not there forever either. Nobody stays on top forever. There's an up and there's an ebb and there's a flow to this. So you want to be good. You want to ideally treat everybody as good as you can when you're coming up. And when you come down, you're good. Now, again, I'm not going to, like, if someone asked me a straight question about a particular individual, I'd answer it, but I'd be diplomatic about it. I wouldn't necessarily, even if I thought the person was a dick, I'd be nice about it. You know what I mean? But that's my own standard. I don't necessarily, again, to Stephen A's credit, he understood what he was doing. He wanted to do it. And that part I can respect. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
I watched it and I'm like, man, this is brewed for a long time. And I'm not saying, I don't think I've ever seen Stephen A. Smith that angry and that just like, I'm just getting it off. Like it felt like I saw it and I watched it, and it looked like he lost weight during that whole 40 minutes on his podcast. And I don't mean like lost weight like 10 pounds. Like he looked at the end of that like, man, I've been wanting to say this for years.
Sure.
And you know what is? He kind of looked happy at the end.
Oh yeah, no, it's satisfying. It's satisfying. I'm not even gonna deny it. There's certain satisfaction in that. Right? He's been wanting to say something for a long time. You can see it. But at the same time, right? Like, he gave the guy a platform, a big platform, right? So anyone that wants to look him up now will do so, right? And that's the part that's the terrible part, right? Right? You have earned someone's attention, and now they have to deal with you. And yeah, again, I understand it. I really, really, really do. But yeah, it's like he's in an odd position. There's not too many people you can go off on like that without building them up, right? I'm going to go use the Eminem kill shot line. I had to give you a career to destroy it. That's kind of what Stephen A had to do here.
I mean, who could be in that league of Stephen A. Smith right now?
That's my
What is
point.
it like?
That's my,
I mean, I'm going to throw a name out there, and I think you're going to shoot me down. But right now, I think one of the closest, and I think it's miles out, is Pat McAfee. Where I think Pat McAfee is not a Stephen A. Smith, but I think he's going to be, because Pat McAfee is huge.
mm-hmm.
And Pat McAfee is amazing. And the fact that he called the Women's Royal Rumble, right? He called the Women's Royal Rumble. That was the first match, right? Yes. I thought it was great that he did that. And my point, though, is that Pat McAfee draws an audience. And he is a big asset for ESPN. But he's not Stephen A. Smith. But I mean, I don't think Pat McAfee pissed off Stephen A. Smith, so that's okay.
It's a slightly fairer fight. Like that would be a slightly fairer fight than what Whitlock Smith was.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that'd be I'm not saying it still would be fair, but it'd be fairer.
I like Pat McAfee. I really enjoy Pat McAfee. I enjoy his show. I enjoy him announcing. I miss him in WWE a lot.
He's the permanent color commentator on Raw now.
Is he really?
Yes, he is. Yes,
well, now I don't miss him so much because he's back.
You can check him out. Yeah, you can check him out.
Again, I mean that must have happened just recently, right?
It was just Monday.
Yeah, so I've been not watching Monday Night Raw, but maybe I'll watch Monday Night Raw through WrestleMania.
Wrestling's in a good space right now. I will say that.
Oh, it's in a fantastic place. I mean, the indies are awesome. AEW is pretty solid right now, I would say. WWE is killing it. I mean, What do you think of the Netflix deal, man?
Yeah, kudos to WWE. You hear about Vince?
Are we really surprised?
A little bit. That's freaky shit.
I mean, I'm not thrilled with him, but I'm not surprised.
Am I surprised he used his power to get sexual favors? No, I'm not surprised about that.
But that's not new. That's not new.
No, that's not new. To the depth at which he went, holy shit! Like that was that was not cool at all. No, man. That was I read some of that stuff and it was just like this. Some of that stuff's just fucking disgusting, is what it is. It's just like, wow, right? But that's where we're at, and it's like, holy shit, this really went down. No, they had to get rid of him, and I wouldn't be surprised. If more people aren't on the chopping block to getting fired. Like, honestly, I could see it.
I didn't read much of it, so
I'm just gonna say straight up, folks. The lawsuit you can look at online if you really want to. It is not for the faint of heart. Some of the shit he made that woman do is just downright degrading. Like, it was beyond belief.
Again, I'm not surprised. Like, it's because when I knew he stepped down the first time, Vince is insane. Obviously, there are problems, and it's not a surprise. Maybe it's shocking. Maybe it's. I haven't read it, but I'll take your word that it's pretty disgusting.
Oh, unbelievably disgusting. I'm not even like. I'm just being real. It's disgusting as fuck.
it's not out of my imagination is I guess what I'm going with this because
Yeah.
I just don't the first time this came out, what, 3-4 years ago, like I knew there was more deep down, and that's the whole thing. I mean, you know why Pat McAfee was in the Royal Rumble, right? You know who spot he took, right?
Actually, I heard that was Braun Breaker's. Braun Breaker took Brock's spot, not Pat's.
Oh, I thought Pat took Brock's.
Nope. Braun
That's what
did.
I thought, and that's what I thought the whole thing of him coming in and out was.
No. From what I've read, it was Braun Breaker took Brock Lesnar's spot, and everything. I mean, he did it Braun's way, but everything Braun did in terms of eliminations, getting eliminated by Dominic Mysterio, everything that was Braun. Like Braun took Brock's spot, and I mean, if there's one good thing that came out of it is that Braun Breaker is without a doubt, he's ready to go. I mean, that was amazing. The Royal Rumble pay-per-view was awesome. I enjoyed it. The Women's Rumble ruled. The Men's Rumble, while predictable, the final, like once like the end of it was really good.
But the last 7 were great in the Men's Royal Rumble. So it was McIntyre, Sami Zayn was there, Cody, CM Punk. Oh, I forget the other three. Gunther was in there.
And so was hold on, there was another one like Drew, Cody, Gunther, Punk were the final 4. Zayn and Jey Uso had a pretty good showing in there too. Like he was pretty good in there.
I really enjoyed the Usos starting it off. I thought that was smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Demolition start, but also not at the same time. So it's like it was a good choice. I thought Cody was going to be number 1. Actually, I actually thought Gunther was going to win it. So I mean, credit to them. I mean, but the Women's Rumble was great. I think that was the highlight.
The Bailey, that was great. I love Bailey. Oh, she's just, I mean, honestly, do you think it's going to be her and Io, or do you think it's going to be her and Rhea?
Her and Io, because that's where the story is going.
And so is Damage Control going to break? And
it's Am I broken as early as this week? Because Io needs to, like, honestly, Bailey's earned this. To her credit, Bailey has earned this. I think Rhea is going to have Becky at WrestleMania. I think that's what they're building towards. I don't know if Becky beats her or not. I'm 50-50 on that. Rhea is she's the closest thing to Sensational Sherry today, which is a huge. That's meant that as a compliment. She doesn't need the title anymore, which is a really cool thing to say about her. But I could also just see her beating Becky at WrestleMania, because Becky also is at that point in her career where she doesn't need a title anymore either. And of the two of them, I mean, if neither of them need it, you might as well keep it on Rhea. I could see that. I can see that argument. So,
I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I would like to see. I'm stoked. The Awesome Truth is back. That's going to be fun.
That's the hot tag from R-Truth. R-Truth being in both Rumbles was funny. I laughed both times.
That was amazing. The hot tag.
The hot tag was funny, but I think the Women's Rumble was funnier. He shows up, he runs down, he runs past Valhalla, who's as stunned as he is. And he goes into the Rumble. It's like, where are the guys? He gets thrown right out. And it's just like, okay.
and then there was Adam Pearce. It's like,
yeah, what are you doing? It's like, what are you doing? Why are you out here?
Adam Pearce is the best general manager for Raw ever, because he's. I think Adam Pearce was a wrestler. He's a really good producer, and he just knows how to talk to wrestlers. In a way, he's like, I'm a wrestler, you're a wrestler, but I'm managing this Raw brand. Oh, it's just
the footage they have on they have some like footage of him walking through to the back and just like he's like, I need a drink. I just need. How did you go in there? And he confused, because the Truth just plays confused. And the cool thing about that is he gets away with a lie as a result. but yeah, no, I've enjoyed our Truth and the Judgment Day stuff. It's been fun to watch, and
we're a family. We're a family.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's legitimately hilarious to watch just Truth and them go at it. It's just like, okay, you're so confused, but you're so damn funny that
does this mean Miz is now a face?
He's been a face. Fizz has been a face since he fought Gunther. Like I've known the Miz has been a really good performer since AJ Styles debuted. Like I that's when I really hit me how good Miz really was. And it was just like, wow. I didn't think about it until I watched AJ's debut. And I just saw that how they work together, and just something just clicked. Like, no, he's actually he's underrated. I enjoyed the Gunther and him were such an interesting contrast. And the thing is, Miz has been around a long time, and he's a good heel, but he's really respected. And because he's been there since like 2005.
I mean, it's crazy. And the guy's never been injured.
You never really know. So I mean, now again, is he going to be known for his work in the ring? Probably not. And it's a little bit of shame because he's better than people I think realize. But as a character and just the body of work he's put in, you got to respect the guy. Like again,
I've said this on other shows and on wrestling shows. I said WWE would be in trouble if they lost the Miz. And I've said it because people don't realize that he fills a lot of gears, and he is a big chain where you don't know what you're missing until he's not there.
He's the most versatile guy on that roster. He can be a comedic heel. He can be a serious heel. He can be a main event guy. He can be the opening match. He can be the guy in the middle. And he's good. I'm not going to say he's great, but he's good in every role. A guy like that is incredibly hard to find. Like he is probably the best heel the last 20 years, probably. And it's not even close because he can get that reaction.
I mean, my favorite thing wasn't even in the ring. So they did tribute for the troops. And so a guy's son who's a soldier comes up and he says, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" He's like, "Kofi Kingston." He's like, "Okay, who's your second favorite wrestler?" And then he's like, "John Cena." He says, "If you don't say my name this third time, I'm going to rip up this autograph." And then the guy says, "You're my least favorite wrestler." And the Miz just gets up and walks away. But like, it's amazing because he knows how to play to that kid. And this is caught. And it sounds, but that's wrestling. And that's when I understood when I saw that clip. And that's maybe like 10 years ago. I'm like, this wrestler is an unbelievable performer because he knows his presence. And anybody should be like The Miz if you're a wrestler. Like he understands how to stay in character and connect. And it's amazing.
The key word is connect. He knows how to do that really, really well. And his passion is undeniable. Like I learned The Miz was good when he fought AJ Styles. I actually became a bit of a fan of his when he did that Daniel Bryan interview on Talking Smack. Because I that was genuine passion. And I realized at that moment that, you know what? Who I think are the good guys and who I think are the not so good guys, I may not really know what the hell I'm talking about. And because, again, when you have a guy that passionate, you have to respect that. Right?
So I have to ask this question. So obviously, I don't really care about Elimination Chamber. It'll be fun to watch, but it's cool. I think it's down in Australia, so that's cool. I'm glad they're going down under. That's kind of a nice thing. But I mean, I want to see the Awesome Truth versus the Judgment Day at Mania. That's what I want to see.
It'll happen. Watch Monday. That's all I'm gonna say.
Because next Monday.
No, watch Monday. That's all I'm gonna say. Watch last on Monday's Raw. You'll see what I mean.
No, I know. They laid out truth. It was terrible, and then Miz saved truth.
Mm-hmm. So elimination table is going to be Awesome Truth versus Dominic and JD. That's what's going to be. And then Mania will be Finn and Damian Priest versus Truth and Miz. That's what's going to be. That's how it's going to. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Gunther is going to challenge Rollins at WrestleMania. I think that's where you go with him because Brock's plans with Brock are on hold probably forever. And Punk is not going to.
Is Punk seriously injured or is that a.
No, it's in. He's done, at least for the next 6 months. I will honestly be shocked if we see Punk in WWE again.
It's going to be interesting.
Okay, let me clarify this. It's not his injury. I've always thought the Punk has a shelf life in WWE. And the big thing with him is, like, honestly, he should be the biggest heel. In the best 2 stories you can tell with Punk are Punk and Cody, which you kind of did at the Rumble. Kind of. Punk and Rollins is the second best story you can tell. After that, I don't know what you do with them. They don't need them. And I say this, I used to be a big Punk fan. I lost a lot of respect for him with all the AEW stuff a little bit. But more than that, like it's funny. Cody was dead on with a lot of things he said. Punk talked a big game, but at the end of the day, he's back where he was 10 years ago. So I don't know. I mean, there's some things you could definitely do with him. I don't think he's necessarily. I think he's a great performer, but I also don't know how long before he either mentally implodes again. And he's had 3 major injuries in the last 3 years. So I'm like, weirdly enough, I think his time's nearly up. Like, I think the best you can do with him is make him a part-time performer, get some few dream matches in. I think that's the way that's the best way to use him. But I also wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't come back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I mean, look, again, I think as far as TKO and WWE are concerned, the real play is his merch. And that'll last for a year because selling best in the world t-shirts is what is really, or doing 2 or 3 or 4 t-shirts and kind of running it like a John Cena t-shirt. And that's, I mean, as far as money, that's what I would do if I was running that company. Because that's the value of him, right? It's a legacy, and you could sell a lot of merch. And then he shows up, and then, yeah, maybe get a few matches, get a few positions in there, have some fun, and have him in R-Truth main event Monday Night Raw. That's all you need.
R-Truth's cool right now, but this is the thing, okay? WWE is on the hottest run they've been in since the Attitude Era. I would argue that this is probably the best era in wrestling ever. I could make a very strong case for it. And you have Seth Rollins, you have Cody, you have Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn underneath them. Jey Uso is really, really good right now. You have LA Knight. And these are the Randy Orton. Okay, so you got 7 guys that you could put into the main event anytime you wanted to. Then you have on the other side, you have Roman Reigns when he shows up. I think he's definitely an attraction at this point, and I think they need to get the belt off him. It's my opinion. But he's an attraction you can bring back for years to come. You have Damian Priest, who's about ready to become something. Dominic Mysterio is going to be a world champion inside of 2 years. He's going to be world champion. You can see it.
That's gonna be so much fun.
No, you can see it. Like he is such a good. He is really, really good.
One of the things that's about him. So I didn't think Dominic was good in the beginning. I think Dominic is the most improved wrestler of last year and probably this year too, because he's only getting better. He's getting stupid good. And because when Dominic first came out, I'm like, oh man, he's only there because his dad's Rey Mysterio, right? That was my take on it. And you know what it is? I think he was a little sloppy, but I think he's put in a lot of work. And I think that he just needed a little polish. No. I think he got a little fast tracked, but I think he stepped up to the plate. That's what I thought. And that's what, when I first saw him, I'm like, okay, he's got an edge because of daddy. But now he's on his own. And in the Judgment Day, he's really shown how good he is.
Well, okay, look at the Rumble this year. Okay. He came in, number 8? And he was there almost all the way to the end. He eliminated Braun Breaker. Guy, cool big guy, was like, he was the one that eliminated Braun. And it's no longer shocking. It's no longer shocking when he beats somebody. It's no longer shocking when he does something. He has gotten to the point where he's got a little bit of credibility. He still gets booed out of the building. Like you got Gun. Okay, so I think Gunther's the next big boss, and I think he's going to rule Monday Night Raw. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be Gunther and Seth are Mania now, and I think you got Gunther, you got him, you have a plethora of guys that are really, really, really good. If Drew stays, great. If he goes, it doesn't hurt them that badly. So they are in such a prime spot. Now, in my opinion, if Punk is to come back, he's going to be a heel because he's a better heel currently than a babyface, because he's come back with his tail between his legs. So he said a whole bunch of things. He tried to do a whole bunch of things, and he failed at everything. You can make him heroic if you want to go that route, but he is so much better as a heel right now, and they need a few more heels. So looking at it, man, they don't really. I mean, and this is the best use for him, in my opinion. They don't need him, and I don't know. Like I wouldn't have brought him in, but now I brought him in. I don't know where I don't think he's needed. I think he's better served. I think this is just, again, I don't wish ill will either, but I feel like he's a toy, and he's like, hey, he came back, but he's the toy. He's not. They don't need him. Bronson Reed's going to get moved up the card this year. They've given guys a lot of opportunity to stand out a lot more this year, and I think it works to their advantage. They've kept the Judgment Day pretty strong, all in all. They need, like I said, they could use a couple more heels, but they're in a really good spot, and they're going to be in a really good spot for years to come, right? So, what do you like? Punk's a luxury, not a necessity for there. He was actually more useful for AEW than he was for these guys.
It's interesting. I think it's good for business. I think it's money. I think that they're making a boatload off of Punk, and I think it's smart. And you know what it is? I think that also anytime you could steal talent or steal something from another company that is your competition, whether you utilize it or you don't properly, you still took it off the table. So that's what I think. And so I don't have a problem with WWE picking up Punk. I mean, honestly, they might pick him up and then put him in golden handcuffs for 3 years. Might be a good play. But I think about the money side of this. I don't think about it from an entertainment side. Again, I would have loved to seen Punk and Seth Rollins at Mania. I think that would have been great just for nostalgia and, obviously, and then do something at SummerSlam with Punk, and like with Cody or something. But, I don't know if that's going to happen because it's just time. Because what are you going to do? Punk comes back, what are you going to do? Cody Punk at SummerSlam? Like, kind of loses its
strictly money. Like there's money, but there's also your locker room. He's legitimately not liked by a lot of guys. Like legit. He's a double-edged sword. That's the thing. Like yes, he comes with a boat ton of money, but he also comes with a lot of baggage. And while he has to kind of be good here, because if he screws this up, he's got nowhere to go. Like, think about it. Jade Cargill was a coup for WWE. Cody was a coup for WWE. Punk, AEW didn't want it. They had to let him go. There's a difference there. And so I look at him honestly. Now, I could see more guys from AEW going to WWE, and I can see more guys from WWE going to AEW. Right? I could see it. Like there's gonna be a healthy swapping of talent as time goes on. I think that's good for the industry, and it's good money for everybody. But in Punk's case, just again, I'm speaking as a businessman. Do I want that anywhere near my most prosperous period in history? Does he really add to it? And if maybe he can. Okay, let's look at the strictly business. Maybe he can. But is he worth it? And I don't know. Like again, it's easy to talk about it like that. Like he draws money, and so AEW came to the Title Dome here. I got to actually see the performers when Punk was still here. It was a Collision taping. Like Punk's only a little bit bigger than me. Like legit. I was surprised, right, when I saw him. And it was just like, okay. But I mean, I could see it. Like he's a great performer. He's a great storyteller. I love the dark collar stuff with MJF. I think that was some of the best things in wrestling I've seen in years. But I also think that I'm looking at WWE. I don't know if I would have done it. I understand it, but I don't know if I would have done it. Like it just doesn't feel. I'm being honest with you, right?
I don't know. I would have probably done it because
that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, the opportunity's on the table. It's hard to say no. Because you could always send somebody home, but you can't hire them if somebody else did.
The thing is, he had nowhere else to go. This is the other interesting part about it. Again, Cody, Jade. I think there are especially I think Jade. Way stronger argument for that. He was, again, AEW had to fire him. They had to. He was a cancer in that. He was a cancer in that locker room. He really was. Right? I'm not going to say it was all his fault, but he was a problem there. He was not a beneficial. He was not, all that money he was making for them was not worth the headache he was causing. So looking at him, honestly, okay, so where does he go? Right? WWE is the only one that could pay him the money he's looking for. So again, you're WWE, you're like, okay, I have legitimately the best time I've had in 2 decades right now. Yes, he might be nice, but also I might need a stronger liquor because he's here. I don't know if that is worth the money he comes with. That's my thing. Now, again, Triple H agrees with you. He doesn't really agree with me. So maybe Triple H can again. I would love to be legitimately. I would love to be pleasantly surprised. He's passionate about the industry, and I respect that about him still. I hope while he's there, however long he's there, his passion keeps his good sense. Because I would love to be proven wrong about this. I would love him to go there, have a fun. I think it should be a part-time run just based on just my own opinion of him. But even if it's just a part-time run, he has great matches with some of the guys there because he really could. He's great at what he does. I'm not even like, there's no it's not his abilities, but his attitude's been shitty for the last 2 years. I don't necessarily want to see that version of him there. I like where WWE is right now. I don't want him to fuck it up.
I love where they're at. I think. I mean, I don't watch Monday Night Raw religiously. I don't watch SmackDown. You know, when I can watch NXT, I try to. But again, I think WWE is in a fantastic position as a business, as a company, as a product. I think they have some of the best talent. I mean, I've watched a bunch of these NXT kids grow up in wrestling now, and it's fantastic. And I've seen a bunch of people come from the indies. I mean, Carmelo Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was in wrestling open and beyond, and that's where he cut his teeth. He's a kid from Connecticut, and that guy's worked his ass off. And to see him wrestle, it's fantastic. To see Anthony Green in WWE for a little bit, to see I forget Alex Zane was there. Shoot, who am I missing? Can't think. Like all these people, Cora Jade. I mean, Cora Jade was Elena Black in freelance and GCW. So it's like, it's cool to see all these people.
Yeah. So I'm just throwing it to you. Like I think WWE's done a wonderful job. And I think when WWE is good, it's great for the industry and everybody's benefiting from this. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I'm not, again, I don't, but that's the thing. Like, as a guy, if I was a fan in 2011 especially, I would love to see that CM Punk in today's world. I think that'd be amazing. But I've also seen in the last 2 years his attitude destroy, be incredibly self-destructive. So I don't want that guy. Like, I just don't want that guy. So that's the last thing I'm going to say about Punk. Like he is the closest thing to the Ultimate Warrior I've seen in this era. And it's just like, I never thought I'd say that, but it's true.
I have nothing to say to you on that because it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. That's my point. That's the only thing. But again, Triple H sees it your way, and I hope he's right. I really do.
You want to be wrong, right, on this one?
Yeah.
Kind of like I wanted to be wrong about the Lions versus the 49ers, and I would happily give my $6 for them to. so I got no problem admitting that.
Hey, listen. Again, going full circle, I love the Lions. I think they're going to be great next year too. They're not going away. So
let me ask you this, and then I'll give you a chance to promote. I forgot what comic shop does it, but you have to pick a team, and if your team wins the Super Bowl, you get 3 Virgin comics. If your team loses, you get 3 trade dresses. So who are you picking for your comics?
My 3 comics?
No, not your 3 comics. Are you picking the 49ers to get
49ers?
Or are you picking the Chiefs? Because it's a fun gift, and it's a fun thing to do because you're getting comics regardless, but it's $30. If your team wins, you get Virgin covers. You get 3 Virgin covers. If your team loses, you get 3 trade dresses, which is cool. It's a fun way how to do something.
I'm going to say the 49ers to win. That's what I think. Like I said, my analyst of the football game, folks, is this: the first team with a 10-point lead wins the game. I could see both teams doing it. The way San Francisco does it is they run the football down Kansas City's throat. That's how they beat them. And I think San Fran can do it. I think they're physical enough to pound on the Chiefs, right? That's how Detroit beat them in the first game of the season. They ran the ball and they pounded them all the way to the end of the game. And then by the end of the game, they were bullying Kansas City a little bit. That's how you beat them. For Kansas City to win, get an early lead from Pat Mahomes just doing his thing, right? And I don't think they're going to be stupid enough to not double cover Kelsey. But, well, I mean, I've said that all season. What the fuck do I know? And you know, what the fuck do I know? And if you can do that, you can actually get to the point where if you're San Fran, you don't want Kelsey to beat you. Make the other parts of the team do it. Kansas City can only beat you in a low scoring game. I don't think they can beat you in a shootout. That is the one difference about this Kansas City team. If they fall 2 behind with 2 minutes left, I don't think they can come back. That's why I say 10 points is the magic number, because I don't think Kansas City can come back. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I am Team Chiefs. Not Team Chefs, because I did have a Snickers today, so I'm all right.
Great Googly Moogly.
Amazing commercial. Just amazing commercial. It's like my favorite commercial of all times. It's that and
it's in my top 3 for sure. It's great. Who are the chefs? He's like, damn it.
It's I don't know if you've seen the Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, where he's after the booth, he takes off his headphone and it's his hair. Okay, that's a good one too. He's like, should I say buttermilk biscuits on the next one? And it's like, I don't think you should say that. I think he hands him a Snickers too. No. That's see you Sunday for like. It's like Fox basically saying, hey, we'll see you next Sunday. Oh, it's a great commercial. But I digress. I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself, because we've been speaking for almost 2 hours and 15 minutes plus.
Well, we are at 2 hours and 16. So, ladies and gentlemen, I currently have a podcast course. You can go check it out right now on my website, which is jpantalleresco, wordpress.com/podcast course. It is $400. For $400, I show you everything to make a show. And that is audio, video. I talk about, like everything, like the nuts and bolts, getting guests, doing interviews, how to actually build an audience, like all that stuff is in there and more. The modules are pretty much up and running. I'm slowly releasing them bit by bit. My first crop of students are getting the stuff now. And I hope, like I said, as of right now, like if you guys, I had a Christmas deal going on that's currently off. $400 will get you all the good stuff. So check out my space, contact me. If you're interested, I would happily send you the course.
And then I've just been saying it a while, is that obviously you have to support people, you have to support comics, you have to support what you like. So obviously supporting Kickstarter, supporting crowdfunding, obviously supporting people in business who are doing cool stuff. So somebody has a book writing, whatever they're doing, and you need it or you want to read what they're doing, you should go out and buy it, because that does help to get the next thing produced. Yes. And then obviously even going further onto that, money's tight. I get it. Social media is a really big thing. So following people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. I think everybody knows the drill. I put the link to your course, by the way, in the description for those who want to see it. So obviously you can click very easily, and then it'll take you to Josh's course, and you can figure out if you want to do it. And then I'm sure Josh will get you in, and you can learn all about podcasting. It's a lot of fun. But I digress about that. And then about me is I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. Facebook is Pop Anime Comics. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. TikTok is Pop Anime Comics. My eBay store is Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And yeah, just so everybody is aware, I do have all 15 of these in foil. I bought out a print run. So yeah, I'm one of those guys. But I would not be stupid enough to do it twice. Now, of course I would be. So I bought this one out too. I have all 15 of the foils in this one. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you want those books, and I'm reasonable. I'm reasonable on my prices on those books. $300 a book. No. It's gonna be more like 65 when they come in. So, which is reasonable. It's really reasonable. So, but all jokes aside, even about that, if you are looking for rare comics and things that are hard to find, I tend to carry a lot of those things that sell out. And I try to keep my prices as reasonable as I can. And I try to be as competitive as I can, because I'm a collector and this is a business. And I think there's a happy medium between those two things. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's everything that I got going on. So appreciate everybody watching. And I'm going to give Josh the final word.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. However you are doing this, stay inspired out there. Keep shining in the dark. Remember, you're going where you want to. So be honest about where you're going.
And that is a wrap, everybody.